but they didn't lock up their Super Bowl appearance because of the acquisition of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, right, Jimmy?
He'll help. Yeah, I mean, he'll help them win games, and he'll be an upgrade over Anthony Harris, in my opinion. But it is a projection for him to go from basically being a slot corner in New Orleans to now being a safety, and the Eagles are probably going to ask him to do more from the safeties, from a more traditional safety spot than he did in New Orleans.
Johnny Mac, Jody Mac, your Mac Birds 365 guys, joined by the champion, the man who picked the most number of players right to make the Eagles' original 53-man roster. Jimmy Kempski from Philly Voice joins us. Your first chance to wear the belt for the entire year, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's my first 53-man roster chip.
And congratulations, ending the oppressive regime of the Wolf. Repressive.
I think everyone was rooting against him. So back in the day when the Eagles had the field goal kicking competition, of which I also have a championship under my belt, I did not stop talking about my win for a full year. And when I missed my kick the next year, thus eliminating me from that competition, everyone was cheering that I was out. So Bo was getting a lot of that today and yesterday after his loss.
And don't kid yourself. I know it wasn't there, but I've certainly gotten it secondhand. McMullen did a victory lap all year too when he won. So
what year did you win,
He's
John?
pointing fingers at Wolf like, oh my God, that obnoxious.
It was
after he won.
It's been a while now.
The same thing.
So it was me. It was Jeff. Jeff won the year. Then I won. Then Les won. Then it was 3 years of Bo. So I would have to do the math. And now
we've been doing this for a while. I didn't realize how long it's been.
Yeah. That was the first year. So I won in the first year. And then I've been second like 3 or 4 times now.
As have I. Before my win, I was sort of like the Jim Kelly or the Dan Marino or whatever.
I'm the Jim Kelly now. So, but like I had 50 yesterday. Bo told me 4 or 5 guys had 50. So it's not necessarily second place, but we're not going to look at the practice squad to figure out second place.
Right.
Jimmy, which was the key guy that you got that others didn't that lifted you to the victory?
Yeah, I had Andre Sacheret off, which I think a lot of people had him on. Did you have him on, John?
I had him off.
Okay.
I had him off. I screwed up my big swing. And I do, I try to win this thing. So I figured, the safeties were so bad in the preseason.
Yeah.
I defaulted, maybe they'll go with Tart, just a veteran. And that was just dumb. They were telling me all summer, this guy stinks. And I didn't believe it. And probably because I do this show and we have listeners. Oh, Tart's the best safety the Eagles have. And I'm like, maybe they default to the veteran guy. It was just the dumbest decision.
He was a Monday cut too. He didn't even make it to the final day.
They told me all summer and I didn't listen. They smacked me in the face with it.
But that was the hard position to figure out, safety.
Yeah.
So the way
I didn't have Reed either.
So I had Reed on.
Screwed me up. Yeah.
So he was my third safety. I had him on. Like I thought that he was just great throughout camp and the preseason games. I just had him making the roster. And then for me, it was a decision between Kayvon Wallace, Josiah Scott, Sacheret. Nobody saw Anthony Harris get cut. So Anthony Harris gets cut. They trade for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Nobody had that. Of course, nobody had Josh Sills making the team. Whether you had Coyote Awashika or you had Jack Anderson as the 10th offensive lineman.
Jack Anderson.
Yeah,
so.
But nobody had Sills. But the safety position, I had Reed on, just flat on, like no debate in my mind on that. And then from there, it was do they bring Kayvon Wallace back, even though he hasn't had a great camp? And they did because, in my opinion anyways, he's a recent 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
He's going to get a third year to show what he can do.
He didn't deserve to make this team.
I didn't think so.
I had him on there.
I had him on. And then from there, it was between Josiah Scott and Andre Sacheret. And in my mind, it was, okay, well, Scott is 3 years younger and Sacheret is on his 6th team in 5 years. Who's lining up to claim that guy? And if somebody claims him, so what? You got to be prepared to lose a guy like that if you have
like
to. So.
Noah Tungiai. Oh, the Eagles lost Noah
Yes.
Tungiai.
Right.
Okay.
They may lose Noah Tungiai again.
I'm not worried about it.
To be scooped up. All right. Let both John and I be on the record. I think we see this exactly the same. I'm interested to see what you see. John and I both really like the trade Howie Roseman made yesterday.
Oh, sure.
They got a better player.
Yeah.
They didn't pay a whole heck of a lot for it. Minimal compensation at best. More athletic, all those things. John and I just commented to the ire of some of our streamers here that some people have stated this acquisition is like getting Brian Dawkins. That this is the missing piece of all missing pieces. That they got a Pro Bowl safety when he played all of 80 snaps at safety last year. We're just trying to put it in its proper perspective that some people are overstating how huge a deal this was for the Eagles. It's a win. Good on you, Howie. Thank you very much. But they didn't lock up their Super Bowl appearance because of the acquisition of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, right, Jimmy?
He'll help. Yeah, I mean, he'll help them win games, and he'll be an upgrade over Anthony Harris, in my opinion. But it is a projection for him to go from basically being a slot corner in New Orleans to now being a safety, and the Eagles are probably going to ask him to do more from the safeties, from a more traditional safety spot than he did in New Orleans. He did that in college. He played the quote unquote star position in Florida in college, which is sort of like a slot corner on steroids. And then like he's playing slot corner, he's playing safety, he's playing some linebacker. So he's a really physical player. He's a really like annoying player to opposing offenses. He doesn't shut up the entire game, and he really has a knack for getting under the skin of opposing offensive players. So that'll be fun to watch. But he's a good cover guy. I think he's probably, one of the top 5 slot corners in the NFL. So they have a guy that can now match up against sort of bigger slot corners, slot receivers, whereas Maddox is, maybe more adept at handling, sort of the shiftier, speedier type of guys. So they can, I look at it like this. So offensively, the Eagles have Quez Watkins and Zach Pascal as their slot receivers. And now they can kind of base their game plan around who's the opposing defensive slot corner. If it's a smaller guy, you can have Pascal go out and bully that guy. If it's a bigger, slower guy, well, that leaves you susceptible to the bigger play against the guy like Quez. Well, now the Eagles have 2 different kinds of slot corners in Avonte Maddox and now in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Gardner-Johnson being the more physical guy, Avonte being the more speedier, fast, athletic guy. And it'll be hard for opposing offenses to sort of, take advantage of one guy or the other now. So he's going to play safety, but he's also going to play plenty of slot corner, I would imagine, as well. And it'll be interesting to see, how Jonathan Gannon sort of, moves these guys around, and if a third safety can play on the back end if they do have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson dropping down in the slot on occasion.
You mentioned that word projection, Jimmy, which I agree with. Now I've also mentioned that. And here's the problem with that. It might work great. We got a week before Detroit, essentially. Right. Can he possibly start? We just went through a whole training camp. I hate to keep talking about Tart, but that guy's played 7 years of football at safety on a good defense, and he couldn't pick up the terminology change. Yeah. And they're both Vic Fangio defenses.
There's a lot of even said so that he was having trouble picking it up, and that was a couple weeks in. That was either a week into camp or something like that. But they had signed Tart, back in June. I believe so. He had already been with the team for a while. Yeah. So it's certainly a good point that you bring up. I imagine he probably will start just because he has ability. Like you said, they're about a week and a half out from this first, from this week 1 game. And I do imagine he'll start, but it's not a lock that he will. I'm certainly with you on that.
Real as a follow-up, is there a chance Anthony Harris is back by week 2? The old shuffle, non-guaranteed contract. bring him back after that week 1 game. You get through week 1 with Kayvon Wallace or Reed Blankenship. Any possibility that's still out there?
Yeah, I imagine they'd probably feel more comfortable putting him out there than Kayvon Wallace or Reed Blankenship or Josiah Scott or whoever you want to name. I could certainly see that. I don't know what kind of attention Anthony Harris is going to get from the other 31 teams now that he's free to sign pretty much anywhere. So that'll be interesting to see if he gets, any bites around the league. And if he doesn't, sure. Yeah, I could see them bringing him back. And as a third, I like him better as a third safety than I do as a starting safety. And he's not going to cost a lot of money. He signed here this offseason for very little money to begin with. So yeah, if you want to bring him back, it shouldn't be that expensive. I could absolutely see that.
Jimmy, need your take on a position we always end up talking about, and that's quarterback. And it's the third quarterback of the Philadelphia. Not the first. We know he is. Not the second. We know who he is. But as of right now, they don't have a third quarterback, although Howie made sure he told everybody, we'll have third quarterback tomorrow. Yeah. There will be a quarterback on the practice squad, which everybody knows. Reed Sinnett did nothing for me this spring. I mean, he did not open my eyes a little bit. I don't care how good
it's better than Carson Strong. I'll give him that.
That's true.
Yeah, okay. That gives me much comfort that he was better than Carson. And you want to know something? I don't know that he's better than Carson Strong. And Strong was so bad, he might not even grab on with a practice squad anywhere else either. But so what? If not good enough to play is not good enough to play. I don't care how far away you are from good enough to play. You are. If you're not good enough to play, you're not good enough to play. Is Sinnett coming back here, or is Howie going to go out and get somebody else?
He looked a lot better in practices than he did in the games. I did think that he should. So in the preseason game against the Browns, he showed what he has. Like he's got some tools, and he showed what he has on that deep ball that he threw to Devin Allen, which I believe was the
Jimmy. I think Jimmy, I've heard you have got a big arm. I think you could have thrown it to Devin Allen. He was so far behind the defense. Basically, anybody with anything to an arm could have gotten it to.
Well, it was still a good throw. I mean, he did show his arm strength on that play, and I thought he showed his arm strength throughout training camp as well. So again, like I said, I thought he was better in the practices than he was in the games. I'm with you wholeheartedly in that he left plenty to be desired in the 3 preseason games overall, and was not deserving to make the team. And in fact, I don't think any of the beat writers had him. None had him making the team. So yeah, I could see him coming back on the practice squad. By my count, there were 11 teams last year that had to play their third quarterback at some point last season. And I think the third quarterback is more important in the COVID era than it has been in prior years, because guys
definitely
go out because of COVID, and sometimes you need that third quarterback, and teams have needed them. I don't know that Reed Sinnett is coming in and beating anybody good, but if he had to come in and play against one of these terrible teams on the Eagles' schedule, maybe you just rely on your running attack for a week or whatever it is, and he can maybe get you through. But for now, he's not going to be on the 53-man roster. I could see. So last year, I think the Eagles made a move that nobody saw coming when they traded for Minshew, when they already had Hurts as the starter and Joe Flacco as the number 2. So could Howie surprise us again? Maybe. I don't know what's available, who's looking to trade their quarterback or anything like that. But I wouldn't rule out them adding somebody directly to the 53-man roster, though I do think it is more likely that they just bring somebody back to the practice squad, and I think that'll probably be Reed Sinnett.
Well, let's talk about the waiver wire. You got till 12 o'clock today. There's that little hiccup. You can't put somebody on the injured reserve because of the timing. So if you claim somebody on waivers, you have to cut somebody on the initial 53. Odds are, your thoughts that the Eagles are going to claim somebody. 3 running backs looks really light. The offense as a whole, you have an offensive head coach. I think it was 23 offensive players as opposed to 27 on defense, and then the 3 specialists. Can you get through a 17-game season with only 3 running backs on the roster and Miles's injury situation? And then factor in the practice squad. Obviously, you can toggle guys back and forth, but your thoughts on them claiming somebody on waivers? And I think they're 19th on the waiver wire.
Yeah, 19th is right. So that'll be difficult for them to get sort of the prized, for lack of a better way of putting on how prized they are if they got cut by their original teams. But of the maybe appealing players to the Eagles, might be difficult for them to slide all the way down to 19 without them being claimed ahead of time. It did kind of seem, tell me if you think I'm wrong on this, John, because you were there too. During Howie, after Howie Roseman's press conference, he got asked about, I think the cameras were still on at this point, so we can talk about it, but he got asked about how, about the IR rule that you just noted.
He wants to get it changed.
He wants it changed. He said, John Ferrari, we got to get him on that, and let's propose a rule change to the NFL for that. Leads me to believe they are looking at the waiver guys and they'd like to put in a claim on someone, but they can't IR someone to be able to do that. They'd have to. He seemed annoyed by that this year, so it did seem to me like they did have interest maybe in somebody on the waiver wire, but were annoyed that they couldn't put somebody on IR and instead had to cut somebody and able to put that waiver claim in. So, or if they were awarded a player anyway, they'd have to cut someone. So it does seem like they are going to maybe put in a claim on somebody. That's sort of the read that I had from that back and forth. So we'll see, but I'm with you that I think the most likely position that they address if they do put a claim in is running back, because they only have 3 of them and they don't have that power element that I think they like to have, among their backs.
All right, you're a champion. Real quick, Jody, before you jump in. So I want another prediction. If there is a waiver claim, who's number 53 on this roster? Who's going?
I hadn't really had a chance to take a look at the guys that got cut. Once they traded for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, my day was wrecked.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I had to focus. I had to hammer that out.
I'm not talking about, I don't want a prediction on the waiver.
Okay.
I want, if they claim somebody on waivers, because that's impossible.
Yeah. Who do they cut?
Then he's going to brag about David Sims or whatever. But I'm saying if they pick up somebody, whoever it is, whomever, who's the first guy to go? Who's that 53rd guy on the roster?
I think it's probably one of those safeties. It could also be Sills. So it could be Sills. Maybe they just have 9 offensive linemen. It could be one of the safeties. Like, I don't think Kayvon's going again. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna cut Reed.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Sills. I would say Sills is probably the guy that has to worry about losing his job.
Lop off another offensive player. Johnny Mac just pointed out it's 27-23. So one more, but it may be an offensive player they're claiming. Damn, if they claim a defensive player and cut another offensive player, that'd be tough to stomach. All right, wait. I'm obsessed with quarterback. How involved will Jeff Lurie be in this decision? Because if he is, the unstoppable Nate Sudfeld is available.
No, he's not. He's signed with Detroit.
That's right.
He already signed
week 1. Yeah,
he's going to give away all the Eagles' secrets to Detroit ahead of week 1. Yeah.
I know. If he's unstoppable at giving information to his new team too. That's not good for the Eagles. The guy that I like is Strebler, who the Jets cut. He was their 4th-string quarterback coming into camp. He won all 3 of his games, last possession, down the field. I know he's a little bit older. Johnny and I debated this yesterday. If they bring anybody back, it's going to be a young guy, a guy they can develop. Or I don't know, like Reed Sinnett. How'd that work out? Give me the best player.
Yeah, Kellen Mond is out there too.
Yeah. Mond can't play.
I think he'll probably get claimed before the Eagles would have a chance at him anyway. So I don't think it matters.
Yeah, people get enamored. I'm with you, Jody. I don't think he can play.
I don't think he can play.
People get enamored with the draft pedigree and 3rd round pick, and he gets cut in the 2nd year. The coach didn't like him. New coach, so they talk.
New regime. So that factors in, I think.
Definitely.
But I think
in the new regime, the head coach is a quarterback. So if you got to look at the kid all throughout camp and said, not good enough for us to keep. And by the way, they cut Mannion too. They cut both of their quarterbacks. So we're worried about the Eagles because they're down to 2. The Vikings
and they got Nick Mullins. It's ex-Eagles backups all over the league.
Another guy
Nick Sudfeld, Nick Mullins.
Can't play a little bit.
Yeah, you're harsh on those.
Cut in favor of Nick Mullins.
Yeah,
That's not
I
good.
get harsh on quarterbacks. I got guys that I like a lot and guys that I don't like a little bit.
Yeah, how bad is Kellen Mond that they said, hey, Nick Mullins is better. Let's bring Nick Mullins in.
That's right.
That's enough for me. Yes.
Jalen Reagor,
Yes.
surprised or not surprised that the Eagles couldn't work something out?
Not surprised. I don't know how much interest was in Jalen Reagor around the league. I thought we saw some reports hinting at something might get done before the deadline. They could still trade him after the deadline. Yeah. You look back at 2016, for example, they held on to Eric Rowe through final cuts, and then they proved to the league, we're not cutting him, we'll keep him instead of cutting him. And they wound up trading him to Patriots, I believe. Yeah, Patriots. Mm-hmm. So it could still get done. I don't think they're trading Andre Dillard. I think their asking price is going to be way too high for him. And I think the tape that what he put on tape through the preseason games isn't going to be good enough for teams to go, oh yeah, we'll give you a second round pick.
He did not play well against the Dolphins at all.
So he's not going anywhere, I don't think.
Yeah.
Reagor, if the Eagles are willing to take like a 6th or 7th round pick, maybe, but I think they're probably just unrealistic they should be unrealistic given some of the trades these 2 trades that they've made with the Saints are crazy with what they've gotten back from that team.
Yeah. I think Chris Franklin asked Howie, what he has this rapport with Mickey Loomis. No, he just beats him like a drum. That's why he keeps calling the Saints.
So I guess we'll see if Howie gets what he wants ultimately for Jalen Reagor. But you got to also look at who's your punt returner if you trade Reagor? They have nothing otherwise. I guess they're able to get Cubby back to the practice squad. You can call him up maybe, but otherwise, I mean, who would it be? So they kind of have to have him for now until they have sort of a backup option at punt returner. But yeah, I don't know that it was a surprise so much that he didn't get cut or that he didn't get traded ahead of the deadline. I don't think it was a surprise in the slightest that he made the team.
Oh,
they were never going to cut him.
They were never going to cut him. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. One of the other positions Sean and I debated yesterday before the 53-man came down was tight end. Mm-hmm. I thought they were going with 3 running backs. They did. There's still a possibility of a change. I thought the 3 tight ends were blatantly obvious. JM thought they might look to upgrade that position still. Do you think they'll do it now that we're in the next phase, the next stage of it? Or do you think that they look at the guy and all 3 are healthy right now? Calcaterra's healthy. At least he looked good against the Dolphins last week. Are those 3 guys going to be here for the first game, second game, third game? Or do you think tight end is still a position that they're looking at to potentially upgrade?
Yeah, Calcaterra showed something as a receiver early in camp before he got hurt, and then when he came back, he again showed ability as a receiver. He's got a long way to go as a blocker, as we saw in the preseason game against the Dolphins. I didn't really focus on his block. I didn't really get a chance to focus on his blocking throughout training camp. But he's a better receiver than he is a blocker, while Jack Stoll is a better blocker than he is a receiver. You put those 2 guys together, they might have something there. But for now, those players individually are flawed players that have upside in certain areas. So they'll probably be tight end number 2s, and they'll deploy those guys depending on matchups and such against opposing defenses. But yeah, I'd say the tight end position is one that if the right guy, became available, that they could add to. Again, if you do that, where are you cutting someone? So is a 4th tight end going to be more valuable than a 4th or 5th safety or the 10th offensive lineman? That's probably for the Eagles to decide. But if the right talent comes around, I think they'll make an exception and they'll bring them in. But I would guess that they'll probably just kind of roll with Stoll and Calcaterra, because they do bring all the skill sets to the table between the 2 of them. Just like I said, individually, they're not complete players.
Last one from me, Jimmy, at Jimmy Kempski. Read the champion at phillyboys.com. The reigning and soon to be defending champion.
That's right.
We got to get Paul Heyman if you're a wrestling fan. I got him to shout me out when I was the reigning and defending champion. But I will leave you with this and the fact that the expectations of this team are sky high now that they got Ronnie Lott to play safety. If this team is going to underachieve, besides injuries, which is obvious, if you get too many injuries, and besides the quarterback, I'm going to really narrow focus it. If this team is going to underachieve, what would the reason be besides those two obvious pass?
Yeah, well, Hurts is the obvious one, and then what will Gannett and John Gannett?
Does that make him GJ instead of JG?
That's why you call him JG. Yeah.
What will the Eagles defense under JG be? They got a lot of new players, so there's figuring out how to use them to maximize their skill sets while also staying within the structure of the defense. And if they just play that soft shell defense that any decent quarterback tore apart last year, then the new personnel will matter anyway, I guess. But if they're just going to get torn apart by any good quarterback that they play, then it's going to be a quick first round exit in the playoffs, I would imagine. So I'm interested to see what he can do with this new group of much better upgraded players that the front office has gotten for him. But yeah, what he's able to do with this defense would I think is the difference between them making a deep run into the playoffs or not. We'll see how he can sort of mesh all these guys with varying skill sets together and what he can do creatively to confuse opposing offenses.
All right, JK, we may or may not get you back on again before the Eagles play their first game. They're in Detroit against the Lions. The ability of Nate Sudfeld to pass along state secrets a year removed, an entire new coaching staff in place. But let's say he doesn't have all the answers for Dan Campbell up there in Detroit. The Eagles only hung a 44 burger on him last year, but some people we've had on the show are really nervous about playing the Lions first week of the season. I say double digits.
By the way, Howie seemed a little nervous. Seemed a little nervous.
He did say something like, "We're going to get everything they have," or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't see it. For me, it's just as simple as looking at the roster and going, the team just isn't that good. I can't see them. I mean, certainly they can lose to anybody. It's the NFL, but my feeling is I think you want to get the bad teams on your schedule early, because as the season progresses, you get the better, more accurately, I would say you want to get the good teams on your schedule later in the season, because something can happen to them, like they lose their quarterback or something at somewhere along the way. And then that team, that good
That's
team,
interesting, Jimmy, because I think the opposite.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you want to get the bad teams later when they know they're bad.
Oh, that makes sense.
They're fired up early, especially home opener. I think that's what Howie was saying.
Jimmy, I'll tell you why you're right. Specifically with the Eagles in mind. This team is not 100% ready to play. They basically come out and admit they're not, because we're not going to put the work in because God forbid somebody get hurt. We're gonna go a little bit lesser than everybody else because we know better. We think outside the box. We're going to be 100% healthy, and for the most part, they are. So at least their theory of why they don't put in as much work as other teams around the National Football League works. Now, how does it play itself out on the field? I'm glad they don't have to test themselves week one against Detroit. Just show up, put your talent out there, win the football game because you're a better football team. That's exactly what I think is going to happen in Detroit.
Yeah, you look at last year, and they played a bad team week one in Atlanta, and they smoked that team.
Yeah, they did.
On the on the flip side, after like the first 5 or 6 games of the season, the Eagles were on pace to shatter a record for the most penalties in a season. Yeah. So it can go both ways. But they cannot lose this Detroit game, because if they do, the whole focus is going to be on the not playing guys in preseason games and having a low number of practices, and practices that sometimes only went like an hour. There's going to be a big focus on that if they lose in Detroit for sure.
Yeah.
We kept you less than an hour, not by much, but enough. As always, we appreciate when you do hop on. I was psyched when McMullen texted me yesterday, said Kempski won the contest and he's coming. And I said, we will give the hosannas to the champion. Congratulations on winning the contest. And we look forward to talking to you a bunch of times during the season. Thanks, bud.
Appreciate it, guys.